Mark, why this new direction now? It's been 2 decades. What possibly could anyone have that could change the narrative?
Well, I think part of this has to do with a confluence of things. I think the fact that the California Supreme Court reversed the penalty phase and the death verdict. I think the fact that they issued the OSC on one of the jurors. And I think once somebody was apprised of the fact that there was other evidence that has been obtained. And mind you, one of the things people have kind of forgotten is it's been 20 years. This case, Scott's case, was the first time 20 years ago where mitochondrial DNA was used in the California courtroom. Now we've gotten, in 20 years, advanced kind of exponentially on what we can do with DNA. And so I would think that this is the time, if ever, to pursue those options.
Which feels weird because, honestly, DNA was in our vernacular from the days of OJ. But I get it. It's mitochondrial DNA. It's a little bit different. The other issue is that it seems to me that Peterson's new attorneys have to prove that the burglary across the street from Laci and Scott Peterson's house had to have happened before Laci's disappearance as opposed to after. Does the Innocence Project think they have irrefutable proof that actually happened, that the burglary happened the day that Laci disappeared?
So one of the things that's so fascinating about this, because there was such media coverage almost immediately on it, but SOPD tried to downplay this and say that the burglary happened on the 26th. The problem with that whole theory is that by the 26th, there was already a media scrum on that street. And you would have to believe that this burglary happened about 30 feet away from camera crews and hordes of reporters. I don't buy it.
Yeah, that's what I've always wondered. Many of the press that were literally stationed across the street have said that for decades now. What does the judge have to hear? What is necessary for this judge to see and to hear in order to make any difference at all?
Well, I think that already the fact that the judge has ordered a status conference means that there's something that has intrigued the bench officer, the judge, and that probably one of the first orders of business, if I had to speculate, because I don't have any inside information, but having done this for a while, the judge will probably want to know, what is the prosecution, either the DA or the Attorney General? What's their position on further testing, on DNA testing, and on doing further investigation on this? Because obviously there is something here, and this should have been disclosed.
It feels to me as though if the trial result was thrown out, without question, I believe the prosecutors would try him again. I don't think that they would just rest easy and say, well, that was that, too bad for us. But 20 years later, things are different, right? Faded memories, lots of documentaries that have questioned the verdict. And certainly there's less public outrage, it seems now, than there was back then. Do you think that he would, if he got a new trial, that he could actually prevail?
Well, I think part of the issues that maybe starting to be raised is that there's an indication, or if there's an indication that somebody else was responsible, and that's the reason that you threw out the previous conviction. That may make a whole lot of difference into the calculation as to whether you do a new trial. I think that there has to be some explanation at some point by the authorities as to why they didn't turn this over in real time, why they didn't, in the beginning of this, you had a package where you showed a van. We had always said that there was a van during the trial itself. I must have said it at least 3 separate times that the investigation was being done while he was being tried, and that made no sense to me in a death penalty case.
You know, we see the pictures of Laci on the screen, and I said earlier that, if she had lived today, would be 48 years old. Also underscored by the pictures of you on the screen as defense counsel for Scott Peterson. But you get better with age, I will say that. Thank you, Mark, as always, for taking the time to talk through this with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ashleigh.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.